everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Nothing But Locks podcast. I'm your host, Ali Melnigi, accompanied by my favorite coworker, Robert Kowalski. How you doing today, Robert?
Ali, I can't think of anyone better to be sipping my coffee with than this
Yeah,
Friday morning.
it has been a wild NBA Finals. There's been some predictable, obviously, Celtics over Hawks. You look on the other side, the Denver Nuggets are cruising. But then there's some of the unpredictable. We see the Grizzlies can't win with Ja Morant against the Lakers. Then they win without him against the Lakers. Giannis is down, but it doesn't look like the Bucks had too much trouble with the Heat. But before we get into that with the NBA, and we're going to talk a little NFL too, because we have the draft next week, which we're going to have an entire episode dedicated to the draft. But let's start with the betting trends so far after a full week of NBA playoffs, Roberts. What are we looking at? What are favorites doing against underdogs? What about home teams versus road teams, overs versus unders? What do we got?
Ali, that there's a lot, right? But the only thing that just is absolutely just glaring, and I can't believe what's happened at this point in the NBA playoffs. So over the previous two postseasons, only 14 times did the favorite win but not cover. So in 158 of 172 games, the winning team is also covered, including the final 28 games last year.
Yeah.
Ali, they are 19-0 this postseason.
Crazy.
19-0. So as long as you pick the favorite, they're not only going to win, they're going to cover thus far. Now, yes, we could point to some skullduggery with Kawhi because yesterday the Clippers game was it was a hot mover. I think it ended up moving like 4 full points when we realized that Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing. So, yeah, if you got the worst of it, then you're 18-1. But if you got there early, because it moved from like 3 to like 6.5, 7. I saw some 7s out there. If you got the early number, you're 19-0 in the playoffs.
It's crazy. It's really interesting, but it also isn't too surprising, Robert. I've been saying for years, I don't like the NBA's playoff format. I actually don't like the play-in game. I just think that those are a waste. It's just another way for the NBA to get money. I honestly think top 6 teams from each division should make the playoffs. You could even make a case for 5, I think. 8's way too much. The discrepancy between the number 1 seed and the number 8 seed is too much, as you can make the argument for the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed. Though I guess people with the Lakers, Grizzlies might have something else to say about it this year. But I honestly think that the 8 seeds just don't belong in there. There's no reason why you should be a sub 500 team and be playing playoff basketball, given the longevity of the season. So I can't say I'm too surprised. And this has kind of been a trend. And some people might say I'm a bit of a hater for the NBA because I love college basketball more. But we saw this last postseason, Robert, when a team was up, they weren't just up by 5-6 points. It was a blowout.
Yeah.
So you almost get that when teams fall behind by the third quarter, they're just ready to wash it up or hang it up and then wash up in the locker rooms and get ready for the next game. I think it's something that's going to become a problem with the league if it keeps going by. But let's save that for another day. Anyway, let's get right into the analysis now. Let's start in the Eastern Conference. I'm excluding the Celtics series because that looks like it's done against the Heat. Against the Hawks. No surprise there. We both figured that the Celtics would roll by. But let's start with an interesting one going on so far, Robert. And that's the Cavs and the Knicks. What have you seen through the first few games that might I know we both picked the Cavs to win, but do you have any consensus that the Cavs will lose the series? Or are you sticking by your pick?
No, actually, I honestly think the way we saw the Knicks perform in game 1, I really think that they might be evenly matched. It's a weird thing where you think that you'd still need this format where as long as you've got like a big 3 or even a big 2, you can make it all the way through. Well, Knicks kind of proved that, they can kind of do things in a different way. And obviously with the series now tied, 1 apiece, it's really not that prohibitive of a favorite for the Cleveland Cavaliers to win this series. Heck, as a matter of fact, I'm hanging $1.35 on Cleveland right now. And so that's pretty much evenly spread out in terms of dollars spent backing the Knicks or the Cavs right now, Ali.
So I'm sticking by the Cavs. I watched the first game when the Knicks, well, they were pretty much ahead the whole time. Cavs made a nice comeback at the end, but they pulled away. I still like the Cavs here. And Robert, I think what happened at the end of game two with Randall going down, I just think Thibodeau still mismanages his team. He leaves these players in garbage time. So I guess going back to my point earlier, that is why you see a lot of these blowouts that coaches are just ready to say, we lost this game. Let me save my starting five for the next game. But I think if the Knicks lose this series, which I still think the Cavs are going to win, they were my pick. I think the Cavs win tonight. I believe they're 1.5-point underdogs. I think they win outright in the Garden. But I can make a case that I think Tom Thibodeau might be the reason that the Knicks lose this series. Is that fair to say?
That's actually very fair. I mean, look, you'll probably point to his track record as a defensive specialist, but this is not a league that's built on defense right
Not
now.
anymore.
You need, yes, you would like to have one, like maybe like a swingman where he's able to not only, be super effective from the wings, but is able to lock down, heck, even the ones, twos, or maybe even the threes. But I think honestly, if you're looking to find an effective team, it's got to be built away from the mentality that Thibodeau built. I could be wrong there. I mean, this is the best that the Knicks have done in a very, very long time. I honestly think that at this point, I mean, look, Brunson's, he's had an incredible season.
Mm.
Emmanuel quickly, no one knew this kid's name previous to this
No.
season. And look, I think if there's a way that they can limit Donovan Mitchell, then they may be able to extend this out into a 7-game series. But it's getting more and more tough for me to swallow this as a possible advance for the New York Knicks, Allie.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Cavs just have more consistent depth, I guess is the correct word
Yeah.
to do for it. I think their starting five is still more consistent. You looked at game two, Darius Garland just came out and blew everyone away with his performance. You still have Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and they have a nice bench. I really like LeVert coming off the bench, some of the other guys. So for me, I'm still riding on the Cavs. Who do you like tonight then? Are you taking the Cavs or you taking the Knicks?
Just for the sake of calling back to my stat, I want to see this play it's all the way through. So I'm going to back the Knicks here and have them win by 2 or more.
All right, fair to say. I'm still backing the Cavs. I think the Cavs win in 6. So I do think that they're going to split 2 in New York, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But I do think the Cavs win in 6 games.
Excellent.
All right, we're going to skip the Sixers in the next 2 because that series looks like it's done. Sixers are up 3-0 in the series. I said that I think it's a sweep. I believe you said you could see a gentleman's sweep for that one. I think it's just going to end up being a sweep, especially just given the aggressiveness, the physicality of the play. James Harden got suspended. I think that the Nets are in way over their heads against the 76ers. Anyway, let's move on to a series that actually is interesting now, and that's the Bucks and the Heat, Robert. Bucks lost game 1, but the big news was Giannis was hurt. He didn't play game 2, and the Bucks just roared back and blew out the Heat. Tyler Hero was also lost in game 1 for the Heat. What are we looking at? What is this series looking at now? Is there any concern that Giannis is going to come back and play for the Bucks in the series?
I think not only are we going to see him, I think we'll probably end up seeing him as early as tomorrow night, Allie. Right. Yes, a back injury is nothing to snort at, and obviously when he got pulled early in the game, that's when you knew it's like, okay, there's literally no effectiveness. Not only that, but he was clearly in pain. So, well, I mean, you saw what happened in game 2. It didn't seem like they really missed him too much, as they not only broke the playoff record for threes. I think they broke the all-time NBA record for threes made. So, yeah. I mean, it's going to be, if it's going to be anyway, I look, I don't think that, to be honest, I don't think that the Miami Heat win another game this series. No. There's going to be, some noise, obviously, between, Jimmy Butler, Adebayo, they've been really excelling well. I mean, at the same time, you have players that are coming in from Milwaukee that I really haven't thought that there was going to be a lot of noise. But I mean, heck, Carter's doing really well. From the outside hitting his threes. Bobby Portis is shooting really, really well. So it's the depth, right? We talked about depth and what they need to do to, obviously overcome an injury like Antetokounmpo has. So I think he comes back. I don't think that they're going to see him playing more than 3 quarters. I don't think they'll need to see him play for 3 quarters, Ali. I think
I would
Milwaukee gets this
almost
one.
I think that they win without Giannis. I do. I would almost, if I'm the GM or if I'm the coach of the Bucks, I'm gonna not play him game 3, or at least I'm not gonna start him. And I'm gonna see how they do, because again, if you don't need to play him, why waste his minutes, Robert? Why risk another injury? This has been a very physical NBA playoff so far. So I would argue that I would sit him, or at least not start him for game 3. Is that fair to say?
No, actually, that's fantastic. It's a great point. I never thought about just, bringing him off the bench. I mean, the doctors, they did have optimism that he'd return sooner than later. Lower, like I said, lower back contusions aren't anything to snort at. But from what I'm seeing right here, it says that the report showed no nerve or structural damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little heat pad, a little massage, get him out there for about 25 minutes.
What are we looking at for odds for tomorrow night's game? Is there a number posted, or are bookmakers still waiting to see if there's official word if Giannis is playing or not?
No, definitely. There's definitely a line out. It's not as settled as I would like it to be. We opened it up at 5.5. It bumped up to 6 for a hot minute before coming back down to 5.5. I think they're really waiting to just see if Giannis is going to play. If he plays, I think this game closes probably closer to 6.5. But right now, 5.5, and the total way up to 220.5.
And I think the Bucks cover either way. I don't think it matters with Giannis. I think that Hero's a big loss for the Heat. I just don't think that they have enough to challenge. I think what happened with the Bucks, it kind of took them by surprise when Giannis went down in game 1, to be honest with you. And sometimes you see these eight seeded teams just come out hot the first game and then they fall back to earth. So I
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
I think that the Bucks cover this game. I think they win the series with you. All right, let's move on to the Western Conference, where we've had a lot more series, minus the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Nuggets are up 2-0 over the Timberwolves. I don't think the Timberwolves won't win one more game in the series, so we're going to skip them. But let's go to a fun matchup that we have, and that's the number 2 Grizzlies versus number 7 Lakers, Robert. You and I both disagreed on this one. I went with the Grizzlies. You went with the Lakers. We're looking at a 1-1 tie, which is something I expected after the last 2 games. Now, heading into game 3, Robert, first of all, before we get into more in depth, is there any word if Ja Morant is playing tomorrow night?
Right, exactly. And that's kind of a really significant factor here in terms of whether or not he's going to be ready to play with his hand injury. I say right now it's doubtful. And to be honest, when you have, I mean, look, obviously he was ruled out for game 2. They won anyway. X-rays on his hand were negative, and the MRI did show bruising on his right hand. That's his shooting hand. And so, yeah, if it's still bruised, that means it's sore. That means it's painful to the touch.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be, and then obviously he still has a full day to rest it. But with this game being played in LA, the series is at 1-1. I think that we're probably going to have to wait just a little bit longer. And for that matter, we still hung a number. We still have the Lakers as a full 5 points better. It did dip down to 4.5 because obviously if Morant plays, it's going to be shorter. But now the fact that the game went back up to 5, Ali, makes me think that Ja Morant will not play in game number 3.
So I do think the Lakers are going to bounce back, win game 3. I don't know if they cover. I think that this Grizzlies squad plays very gritty. Dylan Brooks has just seemed to be like a better version of Lance Stevenson, getting into LeBron's face, getting into his head. It's really fun to watch because I'm not a LeBron fan. I'm still going with the Grizzlies here, Robert. I think Ja Morant comes back. Maybe I don't think he plays tomorrow, but I think he'll be back probably game 4, especially if the Grizzlies lose. I think he's going to try to play. The thing that I watched with the Lakers when the Grizzlies beat them in game 2 is this is still an old team with LeBron. Yes, you still have some young guys with, Rui Hachimura, Anthony Davis, I don't really consider young anymore. He's getting toward the older stage in his career. But this team is not great when it has to bounce back after a long game. So is there any concern that you have, because you did pick the Lakers, that this series, as grueling as it's been so far, it might be too much for the Lakers down in like the later games, game 5, game 6, game 7, or are you still not concerned sticking by your Lakers pick?
I picked him to go to the NBA Finals,
You
didn't I?
did. So you got to.
So the last thing I wanted to hear was Anthony Davis appearing to say, I can't move my arm before heading to the locker room.
Right.
I don't know what it is. It's, and here's the funny thing. It's you save the players, right, by doing the best load management you can throughout the year. And what does it matter? Right. You save them up, but only for them to get injured in the playoffs anyway. So play on. I digress. So I think that with the injury that is happening. So forget about John Morant for just a moment. We're forgetting that the defensive player of the year, Jaren Jackson Jr., effectively can shut down one or both of whoever he's playing, whether it's Davis or even LeBron James. He's missed 20 straight games basically with that right foot stress injury. And now the right shoulder is the one that looks like he's probably going to be, tinkering with. He is going to play game 3. We know that, right? And I honestly think that right now, based on how much of a swing we have on them to win the series, the Lakers, that is, they're right now minus 170 to win this, even though the series is tied 1-1. Makes me think that I'm far more confident in game number 3 with the Lakers to win and cover. And obviously, if they win and then cover, you're going to double their odds to win the series. But I think that there's a lot still to be said in this entire series. If we don't see the likes of John Morant play for the Grizzlies, we're going to see an awful lot of minutes. Of course, Jackson's playing no matter what. Desmond Bane's probably going to get the vast majority of the shots along with Kennard. But I think that honestly, it might not be enough for playing against a Lakers team that, look, John Morant, for all intents and purposes, he's Memphis's MVP. I'd probably have to say that. Without him, I don't think that they're going to be able to win this game, second game in a row over the Lakers. I think the Lakers are going to make the adjustments necessary to cover this one. And as we come back next week to the episode, I'd like to say that the Lakers might even be one game out from winning the series, if not have won it all.
Yeah, I'm still sticking by the Grizzlies, so I'm going to go with that one. But one thing about what Anthony Davis said is, it just, I don't understand him. He had such a poor performance in game 2, Robert, and then for him to come and say he's hurt. Like, is this guy just all for excuses? Because I feel like every time he does have a poor game, it's because he was injured or something. What are you thinking about that?
It's just a mentality, right? And I just think that, honestly, I guess he's at a point right now in his career where he doesn't really have to answer to anybody. He's kind of done what he's done. But yeah, it's different. It's he's playing in a city where people care. I mean, they're expected to win championships. Forget about winning games. But maybe he's just happy with the result that he put in for the day. I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of him. I do think that he's putting in max effort, but I just think he's just fragile. I really do.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the next series. And this has been another interesting one. That's the number 4 Suns versus number 5 Clippers. Kawhi did not play the last game, and it showed because the Clippers did lose to the Suns, albeit it was a close game. Robert, do we have any word if Kawhi is going to be back for the next game, game 4 tomorrow?
Yeah, this one is definitely I don't expect him to be back, right? So this is, talking about load management. Lou said that he was going to manage him the best he can. Leonard did everything in his power to stay as healthy as he could this year. Eat right, put in the workouts, get to bed early, everything that you want out of a pro, he did. But that knee sprain, which he had, it just simply, there was no way he was going to be able to put weight on it. He had no mobility. And he's not going to, he obviously didn't take the court yesterday. They still kind of kept it close. But at this point with the game coming up on Saturday, we're anticipating him being out again. And so obviously, they've been without George for a month now, without Leonard again. The Suns opened up as a 5-point favorite on the road with a total 226.5. Allie, I don't think that at this point it seems to be a downward spiral for the Clippers, and it's sad because they've got all of the pieces to win a championship. I'm not even talking about Westbrook right now, but I just think that there's too much of snake bites going on around them. And at this point, with the Suns a 1,200 point favorite to win this series right now, so basically you're getting anywhere between 7.5, even as high as 8-1 for the Clippers to win this series, much less win the West. It looks like all of the cards are against them now, Allie.
I agree with you. This is one where I will say I was wrong with my pick. I did pick the Clippers, but that was contingent on the Clippers staying healthy. I actually thought that it would be the Suns that would be a little more injured. That doesn't seem to be the case. They've stayed healthy. So I'm going to switch my pick with you. I agree, Robert. I think that the Clippers are done in the series. It's one thing to play without Paul George. I think you could win without Paul George. You can't win without Kawhi. That's what it comes down to. If Kawhi is injured, that's the whole problem. And it's interesting because I was listening this morning, and I don't usually listen to Stephen A. Smith, but he made a comment that Kawhi is probably the worst superstar in history. I don't know if I necessarily disagree with that, Robert. Besides the series really where he stayed healthy for the Raptors and led them, like this guy and his load management BS and whatnot, I don't understand it. I don't know if he's purposely sitting out some of these games or if he's truly hurt. I don't know if he was the healthiest he was with the Raptors in that postseason because he was playing for that next big contract. I don't know. The guy's a mystery. Do you have anything to say about that?
I don't know. Maybe we could go back to Pop. Did Pop start all this with his team with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and the like? I think that's where it all started years ago, right? Where everyone just started to take rest because, I mean, they're old. I think, as a matter of fact, that was where I laughed my ass off. I looked at the injury report. I think Pop put it in where he said that Manu Ginobili is out for tonight. Reason old. So
That's
maybe
hilarious.
that's just what's happening here. I mean, look, Kawhi Leonard's he's like I said, I think that he did everything he could to be in prime shape, but it's just not enough, right? We expect more. We want more. We want you on the court every game, putting in max effort, hitting every shot, and it's just not that game. It's a different. I have to think that this is the start of just a new culture of pro sports, Allie. It's not
sad.
the way we used to watch it. I know.
No, it's not Michael Jordan playing in his flu game and whatnot and this and that. It's terrible. All right, one more series to go, Robert, and then we're going to get into some NFL news before we run out of time. Kings and Warriors. This has been every bit of fun to watch as I hoped it would be. And especially game 2 we all know what happened with Draymond, but it's lived up to the hype that these two teams don't like each other. These fan bases don't like each other. Now the Kings are up 2-1 on the Warriors. I'm a big fan of the Kings. They're my dark horse to go all the way to the championship. You had the Warriors in the series. Has your mind changed based on what has transpired so far?
Is it too late to jump on the bandwagon?
No, come right on. You could be the next person to pound the beam or whatever they do there.
I want to light the beam with you.
Yeah, light the beam. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes. Obviously, look, they Golden State did come back and did what they had to do without Draymond Green, without the distractions, and now the series is 2-1 in favor of Sacramento. But when we look at the next game going forward, Sunday, and that's the first game that we have posted up, Golden State, of course, not only will still be hosts, but they will have the services of Draymond Green back. The Warriors, we opened up at 7. against Sacramento. They're up to 7.5 in the total, 238.5. What I like to look at more than that is actually the series price. And this has been just one shovel of bets after another, coming in from both sides. So this game is as close to pick as I could probably find, which is a fantastic thing because it's swayed, ebb and flowed right back and forth. And even though Sacramento's up 2-1, this is a pick'em series at this point. You probably would guess that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. There's a good chance that the Warriors, they play very well at home. They're 33-8 at home this year. I do think they actually even up the series. I don't know if they cover it. It looks like it's a big line, 7.5, but I do think that they win game 4. It's just when you play in Sacramento, Robert, I think that crowd is so ferocious. I think that they get on Draymond Green. They know how to get under his skin. And when he plays like he did in game 2, it's actually a cancer for the Warriors. And I think it throws all their game off. So I'm still sticking by the Kings to win the series. I think it's going to go a full 7 games and it should be every bit as fun. But Robert, I actually think if the Kings get past the Warriors, they're a dangerous team. Like, can you imagine the Kings say in the next round, if the Lakers actually do beat the Grizzlies, if the Kings played the Lakers? I don't know if the Lakers can keep up with the Kings. Can they? What do you think?
No, there's no way they'd be able to. I mean, it's the Sacramento Kings, as we haven't seen an offense like what the Kings have done this year ever. Right. And it just seems like the buckets just come easier and easier for each single, every quarter that they play against the Warriors. It just seems like they've unfolded them time and time again. And so even though the team, the Warriors, are still the favorite here in this series and in this game, I still think that this is the one that I think gets really, really close. Yeah, they did fall flat, obviously, once they, left the friendly confines of Sacramento. Things do change, and that's probably where their downfall is going to be. This one's going to be a series that I honestly think is going to end up going 7, Allie.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I'm still sticking by the Kings. And we converted Robert. This is great. All right. Well, that is the end of NBA talk for today. Quickly, a few NFL updates. Robert, we are less than 1 week away from the NFL draft, and Aaron Rodgers is still a member of the Green Bay Packers. I've been saying since the beginning, I still don't think that trade goes through with the Jets. Now you've been hearing whispers about, is San Francisco going to come in and make a deal for Aaron Rodgers? What are you looking at, Robert? What do you think is going to happen in 6 days? Is Aaron Rodgers going to finally be a Jet, or is that book going to be closed on New York?
Allie, Aaron Rodgers should have been traded some time ago. But it looks like both sides now appear to really, really dig in. I don't know if there's anything that's really going to be happening. It's because there's been communication now for weeks. Allie, we're so close to the NFL draft. Why hasn't this trade happened yet?
I mean, I still don't think he's going to be a Jet. I don't think he really wants to be a Jet. I know he said he intends to play, but I think this is him trying to get back at the organization. I said, Robert, we talked about this back in January. I said, if I see Aaron Rodgers getting traded, I think he's going to be a San Francisco 49er. It just makes all the sense in the world. How nostalgic would it be just going back to the team that just overlooked you in the draft back in 2005? You bring them a championship, Robert. They're the only team he can go to right now that's championship ready, that needs a quarterback. If I'm Green Bay, I give them to San Fran because I think San Fran will give up that first round draft pick. I don't, for next year. They don't have a first round this year, but they will give up next year. I don't think the Jets want to give up a first rounder for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't blame them because I don't think Aaron Rodgers elevates the Jets to get to the Super Bowl in the AFC. I think Aaron Rodgers elevates the 49ers to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC. Do you agree with that?
I do. And so let me ask you this. If you are the general manager of the Green Bay Packers, would you take, in lieu of draft picks, maybe, let's say I'm really stingy with my picks and I don't want to give out any picks for Aaron Rodgers. Would you take Trey Lance for him?
No, I think Trey Lance is a bust. I don't think he's ever going to have a healthy season. So no, I would actually rather go with Jordan Love than with Trey Lance.
Okay, very good.
I
I
said
like
that when
that.
the day they drafted Trey Lance. I said, what a horrible trade. And they traded up for them.
They did.
Crazy. Anyway, yeah, I think that he is going to either be a Packer or a 49er. I don't think he's going to be the Jets. And then, Robert, if you're the Jets, what do you do? Who's your quarterback next year?
This is getting it's getting bad to worse for the Jets, and it's incredible because they are one last piece away. I don't know, Tim Boyle.
Oh,
It's very,
no.
very bad right now for the Jets. They need a quarterback, and if they don't see that this is going to come down with, like, it's the day of the draft,
I'm
and
telling you, he's going to be Carson Wentz is going to be on the Jets next year. He's going to
oh
start week 1 for
no,
them. I said this back in January. And if this is the case, I want to replay that episode for everyone to hear.
let's do it.
We did
Yes.
our QB carousel. But one more QB I do want to talk about, Robert, and that's Lamar Jackson. I don't know why the Baltimore Ravens wanted to give Odell Beckham $15 million. I think that is insane. And I love OBJ. He was one of my favorite players to ever play in the New York Giants uniform. I still have my jersey ready anytime he wants to come back to New York. Not at 15 million. I think that was a ridiculous signing, but hey, I'm not the GM of the Ravens. Is there any deal that gets done with Lamar Jackson, Robert, or you think that he ends up playing on the franchise tag this year?
How about this? How about he's not even going to be on the team no matter what?
I said that from the beginning. I don't think he's going to
Yeah,
be a Raven.
exactly. I've started. Now I'm in that camp completely. I mean, heck, I'm pretty sure if I don't remember, I saw maybe it was on Monday. I'm pretty sure that Snoop Huntley already signed his restricted tender, so he's in and he's already working out with his team facility, down in Tampa, basically throwing with his teammates. Lamar Jackson's nowhere with the Ravens at all, completely unsigned, and at this point, when I'm looking at the Ravens, I'm keying them in with Huntley as our quarterback.
If you're the Ravens, do you call up Houston with number 2 or Indy with number 4 and see if they want to swap that pick for Lamar Jackson?
Yes, definitely. So actually, on the other side, let's put the GM hat on you again for Houston. Um, give up a couple of first round picks for Lamar Jackson.
Okay, here's my thing with Houston, why it makes more sense for Houston. That division is atrocious. You have the Colts, you have the Titans that are on free fall. I don't believe the Jaguars are still for real. I know they did win a playoff game, but the Chargers are used to blowing playoff games. I still think, and they didn't do anything to better themselves this offseason. So I think that they aren't that good. Lamar Jackson makes you the best team in that division. If you are looking to win right now, and I don't think, Robert, there's any quarterback in this draft that is going to get you to win right now. I don't think it's Bryce Young. I don't think it's CJ Stroud. I definitely don't think it's Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. If I'm Houston, I'm saying this year and probably next year, I don't see a quarterback that's getting me to the level that Lamar Jackson's getting me this season or next season. So I pull the trigger and I make the deal. How about you?
Yeah, I would too. You're absolutely right. Framing it that way, they definitely go from bottom dwellers, forget about in their division in the league, to winning that division. I completely agree with you. So I would do it. You save these number 1 picks to get a quarterback. Well, not only are you getting a quarterback, you're getting, one of the most effective ones that you could ever have, definitely in their franchise's history. So I would do that deal too if I was Houston.
All right. Well, that is our episode for today. I know we could talk so much more, but Robert and I will be back on Wednesday next week. We'll do an NFL draft preview. I know I'm excited for my New York Giants. I would like to get a wide receiver. I don't think we're going to get a wide receiver in the first round, which is fine. I do think we still need to address the secondary, particularly cornerback. I would like to see another edge rusher. Quickly, Robert, before we sign off, your prediction, who's the Giants going to take in the first round?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could only wonder if there's going to be time to take a look and see if we're going to be able to acquire a wide receiver. Maybe, heck, I want to take a look and see if we could stretch out this field, but maybe we take a look at another angle and take a look at maybe Devin Witherspoon. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to slip and, we'd be able to get him at cornerback. That's going to be a long ways away. before we're going to be able to take a look at our. I did it again. Our.
It's fine.
Exactly, and it did slip again. But I honestly think if we're looking at a good position, I would want to go and see if maybe we find ourselves either on the edge or on a shutdown corner. Definitely wide receiver, but I wonder if the depth at wide receiver is going to be able to have us take a look at one in the second round. Man, this thing's next week.
Yeah. Well, we will talk about it all next week. I actually, if I'm the Giants, I wouldn't even mind trading the pick, to be honest with you. I think that if you can trade it, get another early second rounder, I'm not opposed to that. But we'll talk more next week. Plenty to talk about who's going number one, how many quarterbacks will be taken in the top 10. Those are always fun prop bets to take. Robert, thank you so much for joining me. And everyone, I hope you enjoy watching the NHL and NBA playoffs this weekend. And take care.